Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Justin Wolf from Wolf Customs.
And I'm Larry Roberts. Both Justin and myself pride ourselves in bringing only the best outdoor videos,
where we show only the reality of the situation, none of the staged drama.
So if you want to see what the popular TV shows didn't show, then stay with us and we'll show you the skills and knowledge needed.
We'll show our success and our failures. In many cases, these are things that we've never done ourselves, and we're going to be learning right alongside you.
But what we won't show is the made-up drama, only put in for ratings.
So in every single survival show that we ever watch, we always see the necessities. We always see water, we always see fire, and we always see shelter. The one that always bothers me, though, is shelter. And the reason it always bothers me is because every single time, I always hear people say something like, "Oh man, the sun's getting ready to go down. I should probably do shelter." Or, "Man, it's going to be dark in about an hour. I need to make a shelter." The reason this always bothers me is because I have done 4 natural shelters in my life. 3 were natural, like debris type shelters, and 1 was a snow quinzhee. The reason it always bothers me is because every single one of the shelters I've ever done took me 2 to 3 hours, if not more, to make. So in these survival shows, they're just throwing them together. And I don't think that that's accurate at all. So that's what we're going to do today, is we are going to build a natural shelter, and we're going to show exactly how long it takes us. We're going to show the problems that we might run into and everything like that. The type of shelter that we're going to make, it needs to shed water, and it needs to get us up off the forest floor. Okay, right now it's summertime, so all the creepy crawlies and everything else are out, so no one likes to have bugs crawling in their ear and their nose and everything else when they're trying to sleep. So let's get up off the ground a little bit and make sure that we can shed water. I, however, have a surprise for you guys. I am very tied up these next couple weeks, and my film time is going to be very limited. And being the fact that I know that this video is going to take half the day, I have a special guest. And my special guest is going to be the one that fills in for me on this episode. And he is going to be the one that tackles this.
Howdy gang, I'm sure this is not the face you were expecting to see. My name's Joe. Most of you probably don't know me, some of you might. Justin called me up yesterday and said he didn't have, well actually he said he had too much on his plate to put this week's episode together, so he asked me if I could sub for him, and quite frankly I eagerly agreed to it. Just the whole concept of this show is, it's exciting, it's fun. I love watching them every week, and now it's an honor to participate in one. This week I don't have a lot of the background information because Justin didn't have a lot of time to, I guess, relay his and Larry's thinking on what this episode, the basis or the foundation of this episode. But he asked me if I would, and I said sure. Then I asked what the challenge was. Oh boy. He said it was a bush shelter. Build a bush shelter that would shed water. Those aren't too terribly foreign to me. But then he threw in a couple of twists. Justin hates me. Number 1, you can only use 1 tool. And number 2, only natural cordage. Yeah. Oh, and another twist is to have a bed up off the ground. Put those 3 together, and quite frankly, yeah, this may turn out to be an example of what not to do. But, alright, Well, as far as the one tool, I thought, you know, if this is a survival situation, you're not going to end up in the situation with just one tool, more than likely. I mean, if you know you're going into it, you know you're going to be loaded for bear. So I'm going to go into this with a tool that I have on me every day. It's just my everyday carry folder. So there's my one tool. Give that a go. It's about time I gave it a real workout anyway. And as far as keeping the bed up off the ground, I'm just going to let inspiration hit as I find a place to set up. So could do a standing bed, I don't know, or a hammock type situation. And as far as natural cordage goes, depending on what I do, I mean, if I build a hammock type thing, you know, I'll be out here half the day, and half the day's already gone anyway. So yeah, let's find a spot to set up, and let's go have some fun. Alright, well, after about an hour and a half of searching, and I'm sorry for the shaky video here, there's not a real good place for me to set this tripod up. Found this tree that's grown at an angle. It's got a ton of creeper vines going up and around it. I think this would be a good place to at least attempt it. It's a bit taller than I would like, but I've looked and looked for the past while, and this seems to be the best option so far. So let's get this set up. Use you in a little bit. Alright guys, well, this is taller than I wanted, and as you can see, there's plenty of creeper vines around for natural cordage. The tree can take my weight, so obviously stay away from this punky part, but the main trunk seems to be pretty good. Like I said, it's probably, at least my idea will be about there. As the taller you get, the more materials you're going to have to gain to actually put a roof on it, or come up with put a roof on it. So, but anyway, first things first, let's get a hammock thing going. Flying by the seat of my pants. So, yeah, I'm sure this is not how you're supposed to do it, but you know, let's have some fun. Good enough. I know what I'm going to use you for. Well, howdy. Well, a mother load of vines to work with. That's one of the nice things about a fixed blade. Not constantly opening and closing it. Alright, I know this is going to be somewhat problematic, having it set up like this. First off, yes, I realize this is likely ivy vines. I'm not allergic to poison ivy, so I'm not that worried about it. But if you ever decide to copy this, just keep it in mind. Another thing, I'm going to take some of these smaller creeper vines and tie these off so they don't just pop open on me. But also the idea here is to take some saplings, green wood that's not going to just break under my weight, and lay them in here, and I'll have to adjust the loops. But I'm aiming for the most time efficient design I can come up with, and this will get me off the ground. It may not be the most comfortable, but you know, it's a bush shelter for the night or for a couple of days. So anyway, let's keep it going and go from there. Alright, gang. Man, I don't know if you can hear these mosquitoes, but they are fierce. Well, just to add to what I've done, just use some expedient poplar bark as a cordage to tie these loops for my hammock, so to speak, up. And now I'm just going to stuff probably a half a dozen more boards down the length of it, and cross my fingers and pray it'll hold my weight. Well, if I bust my ass, now's the time. Hey, that's not half bad. That's not half bad at all. Get something to prop my head up with, that'd be good to go. Alright guys, well here comes the problematic part. This is taller than I wanted by a significant amount. You know, I'd much prefer it to be about that tall. I've got to come up with a lot of insulating material to create a roof here that will shed water. And one of the downsides of living in western North Carolina is all you basically have is leaf dander, leaf duff or whatnot, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's time to get busy. So we have our hammock or whatever airborne bed set up. So let's get to work and create a roof and some walls. What we got so far, about I don't know, 15 minutes worth of grabbing stuff out of the woods. It's pretty steep. The walls are steeper than I wanted, but the stuff available doesn't seem to be lending itself to being any more long angles, I guess. So I don't know, we'll see. Get some more dead wood and maybe live wood if I have to. Get it propped up here, start stuffing it full of leaves, and we'll see what happens. Well guys, I have come to the conclusion that this is work. I have been scavenging around this area, probably going, I don't know, 100 yards in each direction. I mean that way, that way, that way, and that way, to find this wood. I've been here going at covering this up for probably darn near 2 hours. I mean, I'm not complaining. This is it's a great exercise. I'm enjoying the hell out of it, but it's at least in western North Carolina, it's not as easy as one would think. There's a lot of downed wood around here, but the problem I'm having is it's down, yeah, but if you can look behind me here, there are so many vines and small saplings and trees and stuff. It's like threading a needle almost to get it back to where you're actually building your shelter. So it's hot. Well, as I'm somewhat nearing completion, one of several issues that I'm seeing with this setup is, number one, like I mentioned before, the angle. This brace up top is too high, but it being a living tree, there's not much I can do about that. And then trying to be expedient, I didn't want to spend all day making natural cordage, and frankly there's not that abundance of good materials for strong cordage around here, at least that I'm aware of, but I'm pretty much a novice at that aspect of the game as far as making natural cordage. But anyway, so the walls are pretty steep. It helps a little bit that, you know, I don't really need to worry about keeping water out, you know, much below there, because it's just going to be runoff and it being 90-95 degrees most of the time in western North Carolina right now, you're going to want some airflow anyway. But another thing is just the sheer volume of materials. This is a brand new concept to me. Never even thought about building something, building a hammock and building a shelter around it. I've built little debris huts before, which take a lot of materials, but it's more leaf litter and stuff and less of the bracing. So I've taken all the pine trees on my property that I feel like I can take without my wife being upset. So hopefully that'll kind of fill in the gap a little bit there. But I still feel like I'm going to run up short, even though I feel like this is a lot. Alright, this is what I'm thinking here. There's leaves on the ground, but most of it's decomposed. There's just top layer. I'm hoping that these fresh pine boughs kind of fill in the cracks here and I guess make a tangled mess for the leaves to go in. But as I'm quickly realizing, which I kind of figured was going to happen, I'm running out of pine. I don't know if it might be better for me to snip these small limbs off that have the pine needles on it or not, or leave it a whole sapling or whatnot. I don't know, learning curve I guess. Figure out what works and what doesn't. Yeah, I've decided I'm going to go ahead and snip these limbs off. This pole's just, I don't know, I feel like I can do a better job chinking this if this wasn't attached. Although, I will use that. Now it's probably pretty obvious, but I'm pointing the pine needles down, or they're pointed down, to give a channel, I guess, or direction for the water to flow. I may be doing the wrong thing, I don't know. I've honestly never used green pine before. What I wouldn't give for a real rake right now. figured out it's probably a stupid little trick. One thing I'm really concerned about here is snakes. You know, scraping these leaves up, because you know they'll burrow up under anything really. But every stick that I've made basically hasn't been that functional as far as raking. You know, because it has got two small points and it's just they're so close together it doesn't grab very many leaves. So I don't have to get my hands down in the leaves and I don't know what's there and get bit. Cool little thing. I figured I'd just get 2 sticks. And darn it, if it's not almost as good as a garden rake. Cool. Alright, well, one of the problems I'm having, as I mentioned before, these walls are just too darn steep. They're screwed up there. And I can't keep leaves on it. If I had more pine boughs, that might help. But as I try to fill in the holes, gravity takes over and it just falls right off. Get out of here. Alright gang, while there's a, I wanted to let you hear something, but while there's a siren in the background, I'll go ahead and get my yapping done. I'm going to call a halt to this here. I would definitely say that this is a very mild success. Mostly a failure though, and definitely a failure to what Justin asked or outlined as far as the challenge goes. The way I say it's a mild success, there's a canopy overhead. I mean, it's not a rainforest by any means, but you know, with the kind of rain we get here typically, it's, you know, the canopy by itself will keep you halfway dry. Add this on top of it, you'll have a dry or drier evening. Now you get a monsoon come through here or a huge thunderstorm or something, it'll keep you drier, but you'll still have a wet night. So it's a fail considering, you know, what he asked or outlined. Anyway, I can't keep the leaves on it. I tried to chink it up with pine boughs, but I didn't have enough of those. So, you know, lesson learned, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. My hammock works though, which is a plus. Well gang, well technically a fail. This has been an awesome experience. Hot and sweaty experience for sure, but it's been an awesome experience. So thank you Justin for the challenge. Thank you for letting me take over your channel for one video. I've really enjoyed it. I have learned a lot. You know, I went into this and everything basically went opposite what I thought. I was fairly confident about the shell, just because, you know, I've built those before, but obviously never this high. But I felt that experience would kind of carry over a little bit, and it didn't. I went into thinking that the hammock was going to be the most difficult part, being that there's natural, you know, my lack of skill in the natural cordage area. You know, I was blessed. I found some vines that worked perfectly. Things that I've learned here. The number one thing that I've learned is the old military saying, slow is fast and fast is slow. I was trying to be expedient and try to hurry up and get it done in a, you know, in an emergency type situation, I guess, pseudo. And you know, I didn't take the time to clear my work area, so I'm tripping over all these vines and small saplings that are down that I can't use, and you know, it's been a pain. That's really slowed me down. In attempting to go fast, it's really slowed me down. Another thing is to think 2 steps ahead. You know, I was hitting this up, you know, I've never been asked to make a hammock and then build a shelter around it before. I should have planned things out a little bit better instead of taking, you know, thinking 1 step at a time and implementing 1 step. Think about that step, and then, you know, before you implement that first one, how is that going to affect the second one? You know, I definitely want to hit this up again. I'm sure it won't be a part of Clothed and Confident, but you know, this is just for my own personal edification, I guess. But let's bring you a little bit closer, and you can see a very humble shelter. You know, for the most part, I think the center line is pretty much dry, or would be, at least for a certain period of time, until, you know, a big wind or heavy rain came through and knocked these leaves off, because with walls this steep, it's going to happen. But anyway. Alright gang, well this is the other side. As you can see, I only got about 1.5 to 2 feet down of leaves before things just started falling off. And honestly, if I had more pine boughs, I really don't think that would help that much. It's just it's so steep that gravity takes over the lower it gets. Let's take you around to the other side. That one did a little bit better. Made it a little bit further down. I guess the angle on that one wasn't quite so steep. But great learning experience. You know, it's kind of crimping here, but it works, which I'm pretty stoked about. I thought the hammock was going to be the hard part. Alright gang, well, thanks for joining me on this episode of Clothed and Confident. Thank you, Justin. It was an honor to sub in for you. Wish I could have pulled it off, but you know, this is why you do this show. It's a learning experience, definitely for me, and I hope you guys learned something from it too. Anyway, let's look forward to seeing what Justin and Larry have up their sleeve next week. Thanks for joining me on this one, and thanks for letting me sub, Justin. It's been an honor, and I guess I'll see you guys on my own channel later.
Well guys, I hope you have enjoyed this episode of Clothed and Confident. I want to say thank you, Joe. You did an absolute great job on your shelter, and you also pointed out some really awesome things that people can take from it. You know, people can see that it's not as easy as the popular survival shows often show it being. So anyway guys, I hope that you guys get the opportunity to get out and try this for yourself, because you will definitely learn a lot. So anyway, as always guys, have a good one.